That's what I
Well,
was.
and
My first thought was.
there's grey flecks coming out, which I wasn't quite ready for.
No, I wouldn't know anything about that. I was black as a witch's hat.
Yeah.
Right, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another one of these. The only show on planet Earth to discuss the number one football club in a way that is befitting of such a accolade. So we got Manchester United tomorrow, and we've got a few other things going on. Forgive me for being out of sync, Chris, but is the protest tomorrow?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So just tell me, what are your thoughts on a change for Tottenham and the protest and all that stuff?
I admire them for what they're trying to do. Are they going to achieve anything? Absolutely not. And how many of those people, as part of the Change for Tottenham movement, will protest for an hour, 45 minutes, then go into Daniel's Stadium, put their hand in their pockets and pay £7.50 for 3 or 4 pints and realise he who laughs the loudest, and that will be Daniel Levy.
Yeah, he is a ghoul. Okay, he is definitely a ghoul. For me, this is really straightforward, and I think we've all seen a lot of noise. That's the kindest description about this, with the usual suspects: the Greek toilet cleaner and other assorted, homeless people getting involved. Change for Tottenham. First thing, yeah, wonderful, brilliant, altruistic idea. Unfortunately, change isn't enough. Change is moving the dial a little bit. So if you really want change, you need to get rid physically of Daniel Levy. He is the curse. There are nastier words being used out there, but he is the curse. He's the single linking factor in the chain to all of the misery and the mayhem that he's brought to us over the years. Yes, he's done loads of wonderful stuff, but we've covered that at length, and it's time for him to go. 25 years, 25 bleeding years. So there's people bickering over this protest in terms of who's in charge and blah blah. It's too late. The boat has sailed. The boat has sailed. The moment you got involved in that very weird pornography that was being vended by Gold, My Beer, and others, I went, the girders going up. The moment you went down that path, you lost all sanity and your purchase in the world of debate. They've built the bloody thing, and that's like, what do they call it? The unstoppable object. It can't be stopped. So need to get rid of Levy. That's going to cost £3 billion. And who are we going to get? Probably somebody just as bad. So all these guys saying, oh yeah, I don't agree with it. Nobody cares. You're an egotist. You're all egotists. Leave it alone. You're not even in the picture anymore. So good luck, everybody. Good luck. And I'm sure, as you say, Chris, you'll enjoy your £7.50 pint afterwards and contribute further to the coffers, and maybe have a vegan sandwich or wrap on the way home. But yeah, it's not going to do anything.
The thing to remember, H, is that I want your house. The only way I'm going to get you out your house is to buy it from you or to lease it from you. Daniel Levy owns 29.9% of the house that is Tottenham Hotspur. So you can bang as many drums, you can inflate as many hurty, horrible balloons as you want, and you can put as many flags or things in the stand. But multi-millionaires stroke billionaires didn't achieve that status through being nice people and being considerate and caring of their workforce or their suppliers or their debtors. They've got there because they're scrupulous bastards who are self-centered, and they are very, very tunnel vision on success and where they want to get to. So a few hurty words, a few flags is not this bloke's not going to entertain it at all.
Well, I think it's also worth making a comedic thanks to Daniel Levy and his public relations team for doing their utmost to change people's views with a few leaked interviews and sources close to stuff. The reality is, and this has been my line with Levy forever, so I'm not late to the party. I was already at the party when you turned up with your bottle of Asti Spumante. I don't care how you feel, mate, because facts don't care about your feelings. Business doesn't care about feelings. And for every person you made either homeless or you made them in the business realm homeless, this is what you get. So people are going to say nasty things about you. And apparently you take some of these things to heart. Or sometimes, depending on who you're talking to, you don't. You just brush it off because you're a big tough guy. Nobody cares. That's my bottom line. That's my default setting for Daniel Levy. You have taken far too much money out of everybody's pockets. And that's the problem. And that was today's Substack. Was entitled Can't Buy Me Love, obviously from the Beatles song. And it's absolutely right. And it hasn't been able to buy him love. The amount of money that he's rinsed of ours, our money. And as I say, when it comes to leveraging cash, organizing loans, all of these things, these lease deals on secondhand washing machines that he gets involved in. Yeah, he's an expert. Well, here's your cup. Sorry, I didn't have time to wrap it, but keep that somewhere safe. And I would oil it generously before putting it away for posterity. Yeah, so I don't care, but they've done their best this week. And I just find it extraordinary the amount of people that are still backing this regime that does not win.
But what
Unbelievable.
I also found incredible as a 40-something-year-old man is waking up on Friday morning, doing the usual, taking the dogs for a dog walk, catching up on social media, and looking at the absolute patheticness of grown adults following Tottenham on Twitter channels, on YouTube channels,
Yeah,
going to war with one another. I thought,
yeah.
boys, you need your heads banged together. If you were my kids, or if you were anybody I had any parental responsibility from, you wouldn't behave in such a way. And I'm thinking, how have we got to the point that you got people, and it's all about them. It's all about them being
It's
the
all
same.
about
It's all
it's
about
all
them
about
being front and center of the change. And
it's
it's
all
all
about
about
the ego. It's all about the ego.
views and likes. And you think the
Yeah.
sooner these people get back in their box and realize they're nobodies, easier life will be.
But this is why we have channels that are doing these live things in order to get their super chat cash in through the door. We're making life harder for ourselves, but I think what we do is more natural and free flowing. Not having to stop every 30 seconds and say, "Cheers, Gav. Great to see you, mate." Don't know who Gav is. Don't know him. If I hit him at speed in a car, I wouldn't recognize the stain on the side of my vehicle. But these people would do anything for a fiver. And that's what you're up against when it comes to the mindset. I mean, oh, well, I was going to have a bloke on and talk to us about that. And people threatening to beat each other up. Next time, and this is the punchline, next time they're in the same country. Now, I know I'm old fashioned, but when I was a kid, we went about things in a slightly more organized, brutal fashion, but threatening to duff somebody up, but not using that language because you're scared of getting arrested, but threatening to duff somebody up next time you're in the same country. Well, I'll just put that.
Yeah.
I'll just put that down in my diary. Weird people are crawling out from under rocks here, and half of them are in for the vanity of them being somehow involved because they don't have real lives, they don't have real jobs, and the other half are actually in need of help. Need to go and see. It's our old stump with the men dressing up as women. They need to go and speak to a specialist.
I think
And I
the
just find,
danger.
like you say, knocking their heads together, it might stop. Do you know what would solve most of the problems with all of this noise, this debate? If
Chemical castration.
if the big people involved removed themselves from the field of play, and they would take with them all of the toxicity and all of the niggling that exists. I haven't got a single iota, a scrap of respect for any of them. Absolute bums, all of them. I mean, but you see them sat there in their bedrooms going, "Yeah, well, I was hoping to get morons."
Whilst I think your suggestion of a live stream would be good, we've got Tony the Man on an edge. We've got Chris Sperrin who jumps in from time to time. It's only a matter of the time before we're banned or a knock at the door. It's that bloke who runs the country, and we're imprisoned for our heinous war crimes and outrageous behaviour.
Well, I'm looking forward for a 10 stretch for being white and of voting age. I think that puts me right there in the focus group. So I'll see you at the table tennis table, and we can discuss our escape plans. So we're playing. We've dealt with the mentally backward under 12s, fighting for change that doesn't actually mean any change at all, but now we need to think of the reality of our present situation. We've got to talk about Ange, and we've got to talk about that press conference in which he demanded that Moose from TalkSport Call me a liar, mate. Go on, I double dare you. What in the name of jumping Jehoshaphat's is going through that guy's mind?
He's been on too many of the Wunderberg or whatever that high strength spirit is that they drink down under. Because you're sitting there, and when you put it out via the Substack, I watched it, and I thought, I'm sure I didn't actually watch that, so I had to then re-watch it just to satisfy myself that you've got an alleged elite level manager talking such nonsense. I was thinking, what can you say to that?
What was particularly fascinating, I think that's a generous catch-all sort of description word, or an adjective, as we call them in the English language, but was this business that he kind of inferred that the medical condition of the players for him as the manager. He's not the doctor, he's the manager. And this isn't a complaint that you take to a general practitioner. These are things, sports physios. Okay, so we all know what we're talking about. He seemed to infer that there was some sort of Hippocratic oath at play, which covered him from revealing their innermost troubles. And I just thought to myself, you are talking yourself up in knots. And I see why he's done it, because he wants to control the narrative. And we keep it very binary. Are they really injured, or have you lost the dressing room? Those are the two choices he's offering you, because the third choice, which is, we all know, is the correct winning choice, which is that he has broken most of his players. You don't have 10 players out and 5 of them with hamstrings that are like playing like an old charity shop guitar. So he's clearly involved in that. He has got form historically in Scotland for doing the same flipping thing. But he has steered this away into this sort of, it's like 5-year-olds squabbling at a birthday party. He said, I could have that crayon. No, I didn't. I said you could. And it's just rubbish. And saying to a journalist, are you going to call me a liar? Well, first of all, just again, one of my pet hates, speak English. Talk normally. Don't pretend to be a doctor. Don't pretend to be bound by some weird Hippocratic oath you've just made up. It's quite normal for a football coach to say, yeah, I think he's out for 6 weeks, I think he's out for 10 weeks, he's hurt his foot, he's hurt his elbow, whatever it might be. But he's talking gibberish. And have you noticed, I know we are rather fixated with everything from the coughing to the scratching, but have you noticed this darting of eye movement thing that he's done recently? And that, to me, is another guy whose body language is screaming, I'm up to no good.
Or the medication's not to the strength it should be. And it's consistent with amphetamines and ecstasy back in the day, wasn't it? You used to go like that.
But he's doing this. He's doing this thing like a sniper looking around for who he's going to. And the reality is, he doesn't want to be there.
We don't want him there.
The flush is well and truly busted. He hasn't got anything cogent to say. And now we're into the realm of squabbles with, are you going to call me a liar? Just tell people the truth. Do what other football managers do. It's not like we're asking you to kind of react on the spot to something new. There's no improvisation. Just tell us the guy's got a bump on his foot and he's not going to be ready for another 6 weeks or another 2 weeks.
And that's when, that is in the same week that we've put a planning application in to increase the size of our medical facility.
Yeah, I mean, these are classic Daniel Levy moves. I'll mumble to the press that I sometimes I can get hurt, despite the fact that previously he said that he doesn't get hurt by things that I say. It's the whole sticks and stones thing. And then he goes and invests more money in bloody infrastructure. And this is one of the key Levy traits of getting it wrong. Infrastructure is wonderful, but it's like the tramp and the street light. Are they using it for support or for illumination? And I don't think Daniel Levy is shedding much light on anything. Like Ange, he's just not capable of speaking properly and telling people the truth.
I think that BBC article that you shared with me via WhatsApp the other day, and it said one of the biggest problems with Levy is he surrounds himself with people very similar to him who don't understand football, are very heads down looking at their phones and I can't read the room, can't see the bigger picture. And it's specifically named in there Donna Maria Cullen, surprise, surprise, and who was the other finance guy?
Caplehorn? Or was that the woman? I think
Uh,
that's the woman, isn't it?
Matthew Collicott.
Now, this is the other thing here, just very briefly worth mentioning here. When people say, why can't the board object to Levy? Why can't they rein him in? Why can't they give him better guidance? The very simple answer is that the board is again, as with the rest of the club at the top level, is full of his friends,
Here you
full
go.
of
Here you
people
go.
that have vested interests.
I'll read you the quote here. Club insiders describe Levy 63 as shy, quiet and hard-working, and a man who loves the club and is affected by much criticism. Yeah. They describe the executive leadership and club board, which includes operation and finance director Matthew Collicott and executive director Donna Maria Cullen, as people too similar to him who will sit with their heads in their phones rather than people who make up for Levy's weaknesses. So you haven't got somebody who stands up and says, actually, read the room, what we're doing is wrong. Why are we doing this? You've got minions, you've got sheep who will follow him off the edge of the cliff because they don't want to show their true self and have their self-worth and their identity. And that is wholeheartedly wrong. It's about a team, is about bringing a group of individuals, all with different skill sets, different opinions, different personas, and getting the best out of that team of people. And if you can't do that in the workplace, you're destined to fail, because you need a culture of people challenging the status quo. You need a culture of people trying different things. You need innovation. We haven't got any of it, and that's proven by the mess that we find ourselves in.
I think you're absolutely right, but I would add, and that was what I was getting to, and I kind of lost my train of thought as usual. You'd never know, would you? But they're all fellow directors of different subsections of THFC. So when you say, oh, I want Collicott to confront him about this, or say, I don't think we're doing this in the optimum manner for the good of the fans, the good of the club, blah, blah, they're never going to say that, because then they're the same people that have then got a stake. I mean, a physical stake in these other subsections, and I can't remember all the food, the hotel, the blah blah. All of these people are part and parcel of a much wider web of stuff. And it's all making money. It's all making money. Why would you have an argument? Why would you have an argument with a guy who's feeding you?
But only this week, we shot ourselves in the foot again on two occasions. The first being the King arriving at the Tottenham Stadium for a tour of the stadium. And what do? We give him an American football to throw. The King, whose son, Prince William, is the president of the Football Association, and you will see him at a lot of the FA Cup, League Cup finals, sitting there presenting trophies. We gave him a freaking American football.
Well, you know why we're doing this, and it goes back to that
about investment opportunities and maximising our portfolio in America.
It is all about that branding reaching the man on the street, and they don't care how bizarre it is that they would hand him an American football. What the name of God has that got to do with Spurs? Nothing. So who's he talking to there? Is he talking to any American football people? No, because they're right on the premises. They come here as day visitors. I'll pronounce that correctly again. Day visitors. And this is all about the hosting. And this is a business model which has yet to expand from its original deal. This is like you paying whatever it is for a product, say for your broadband, and you're still paying the same money 10 years later for the same level of service. Businesses don't work like that. They move. They're fluid things, and that's how they keep going. And what do? Give him American football and introduce him to a South Korean who mumbles about we're not in a good place. And that was more spinelessness we had from Ange as well, who was playing the captain is a nice guy. What do you want me to do about it? Do you want me to say that we shouldn't have nice guys playing at the club? And that takes us back to that conversation with Mourinho, where he said that he didn't want coochie woochie little footballers. He wanted players who weren't beeps but were prepared to act like beeps, to be clever bleeps. And what are we doing? We're in a bad place. Oh, we're in a bad place.
And then the second point this week, H, was the press conference when Cullen highlighted the Beyonce playing a gig at the Tottenham Stadium as a changing point for the football club. And you think there is so little interest on field activity, as is proven by a chairman who presents his team with finalists engraved watches before arguably one of our biggest games in the last 10 years, that we're more interested in the side revenues we can generate from pop stars, boxers, NFL quarterbacks, and
Well,
electric
what you're describing there. Everything but the girl.
Yeah.
Everything but the girl. So if
The
you've been a
Tottenham
Spurs
HOTSPUR Media, the Tottenham Media Association, no
hub,
mention of
that's what
football.
they call. That's what they call it. I'm surprised they don't actually just scrap the stadium thing and call it a hub, because that would be absolutely in keeping with that LinkedIn way of thinking. What are we as a business? Don't say football team. He'll throw things at you. He'll throw a stapler at you like a school teacher. Are we an American? No. We're a hub. Come in and buy a sandwich, even when there's no events on, because we'll be doing something busily. And that's where we are. I mean, the amount of comments, I have to say, it's been quite refreshing that the what's the nice word I can use? The throttling, the public humiliation and throttling of the half-wits that came on here with this ragtag. Everybody's Australian and you don't realize how wonderfully everybody's done with that. I mean, yeah, sure, if you're 12, if you're like these Change for Tottenham, not protesters, but the people trying to get involved in it, and all, the Greek toilet cleaner and all that mob, if your IQ is that low, then that's where you are. But the grown-ups have had enough of Levy. They've had enough of waiting, had enough of being told that we're building. I mean, how patronizing could you possibly be?
But what I thought was really good is, after our woeful performance and defeat against Villa last Sunday, the first official correspondence via social media from the club some 72 hours later. Happy birthday, Brian Hill. What?
Brian Hill, football's answer to the invisible man.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't honestly. You could use whatever World War II drugs while I'm tied to a chair. You could bring the mafia in to do horrible things to me. I couldn't tell you who he's currently playing for, and you know what? I'm quite proud of that, because he's an irrelevance. As a Spurs fan, he's an absolute irrelevance. But you sit there for 3 days licking your wounds with people telling you to do the most despicable things to yourselves. And then what's your reply? Happy birthday, Brian Hill, who's what, played 6.5 minutes for us in the last decade.
I think he's at Girona.
That's embarrassing.
I think he's at Girona in Spain, if I'm right, but I'm just that type of guy, aren't I?
Well, how many toothpicks are still in the box, Ray?
Six.
Ray. But yeah, it's beyond
the
witless.
pelters were brilliant, though. The absolute pelters made me laugh out loud.
But nobody could believe it. And the only time when they publish stuff like this, the only time you get anything that's vaguely positive, it's from some crackhead bot who's going, "Oh yeah, my player, I love him." And you're like, I don't even know what language you're writing in. And the username is all letters and block capitals.
And I shared with you a snippet of gossip during the week, but through working in the financial markets and being in the city during the week, conversation turned to suggested outside investment and takeovers. There is none. It was again a attempt to put a smoke screen in front of the impending protest tomorrow to take the eye off what the inevitable is, and hoping that we're gullible enough and stupid enough to think, oh, somebody from Qatar's coming to buy us, or Dubai FC's going to be our new owner.
The thing is, I mean, I hate with a passion, and hate is a very, very, very strong word, but I get very angry when people say, careful what you wish for. Let's use grown-up language and say, well, replacing one monster with a Bond villain isn't an improvement. It's change, right, kids? It's as advertised, it's change, but it's not an improvement. And the idea that we would get rid of somebody who's been strangling us for 25 years for commercial gain, because there's been plenty of that, don't worry about it, replace them with somebody with appalling human rights. I mean, truly backward thinking views, both religiously and otherwise in the world. The idea that you would swap Levy out for some guy, let's face it, in fancy dress, as far as even N17 goes, is just despicable. And And I'm not Mr. Morally Outraged because I think we're through all that. I think it's all about coining it and printing the money. They should have had a conversation, but unfortunately, we had a supporters trust at the time led by Fat Cat and that bucktooth moron Martin Cloak, neither of whom were fit to purpose, both of whom had to sit down, had to retire their seats because they were found wanting. And that's not just shouting out names. They were both wanting, weren't up to the task. Their biscuit club folded when they should have been representing the fans and making it clear to the owners that there were limits to what would be tolerated by the fans. And they got nothing together. They just huffed and they puffed. And again, that was all about ego. And it was all about, oh, well, we were told something by Donna on Thursday, which we can't really let you know about. And now we've got this different shade of Politburo shite from the Supporters Trust, who have been usurped in a popularity contest by somebody offering change.
Yeah.
Wow. That's like here's some new socks, but we're not going to cut your toenails. I understand the concept of change, but is there something meaningful and refreshing happening to my feet? No, there isn't. And those socks will have holes in within a day. But this is what we're up against. Nobody is prepared to do anything truly altruistic, truly decent. And we've already seen the seniors lose their discounts. And that this is all part of, I mean, I sound like I'm going into an Alex Jones thing here, but this is all part of this globalist approach where they don't want football fans in the stadium anymore. All they want are people sitting there going, oh, I'm having a really entertaining time. Except for we're not being entertained at all. So and I'm not getting drunk. I'm not getting drunk. I'm not doing very much. I'm spending all bloody day there because that's an American thing, that dwell time. So they want ideally Spurs fans to get in at 10 in the morning and leave at 10 at night, because it's so busy eating and playing machines and drinking pop and all the rest of it. It's an abomination. But we haven't got anybody who's prepared to make a difference. And that's the truth of it. And the ones we have got who are motivated to put their name into the hat and get involved in the debate just want to kill each other.
So you reminded me of a little personal story there. Some years ago, I was doing what most men do, sitting on the settee with a can of lager, watching the football. Picked a few toenails.
Racist maniac.
Picked a few toenails. Thought, where can I dispose of them? I tell you what, I put them in the Heineken beer can that I've just about finished. Then I fell asleep.
Yeah, baby.
A couple of hours later.
Oh no!
Heineken beer can on the side of the table. Lifted it. I thought, oh, there's some beer in there. Knocked the whole thing back in one. And at that particular moment, I gargled on my own toenails.
I have to see if I can make a more effeminate noise before we finish. I have to confess, I was my body was baffled by substances that it shouldn't have been baffled by, and I ended up putting a cigarette out in a Jack Daniels and Coke, and then put the cigarette down on the ashtray. This is showing how long ago it was. Picked up the drink and just chugged it. And a guy who'd watched me do this was sat opposite me, and he was just like looking at me. He was falling through my face. It was like, yeah. But so yeah, I've been that soldier. Don't worry about that.
At least you didn't fall through the bar while trying to chat up a couple of birds with one of your mates, giving it the old.
Yeah, it was pretty close. So we've got Manchester United tomorrow. Look, half an hour in, and we've only got to tomorrow's game. And there is that Luna getting involved. Oh, what is the dolly? Is that a teddy bear? Is it a monkey?
I don't know. I think it's a teddy of Ange Postecoglou, and it's missing a leg, and it's been thrown in the Alliance enclosure.
So it's out of its depth and looking for support, not unlike our own Antipodean. So what do we reckon tomorrow? I'll give you a clue. Spurs are 29-20, and Man United are way out at 11-4. They're not really way out at all, but it's pretty close. So there's very little in the way of home advantage there. And looking at the form,
it reminds me of 2 or 3 years ago when we played Manchester United, and I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was in charge of United, and we had Nuno Espirito Santo, and it was nicknamed the El Sacchio, and I think it was Espirito took off one of our better players, and all the fans turned on him. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're doing. In retrospect, he might have done, hence why he's steamrolling ahead in the league with Nottingham Forest this season. But
Did you see that list this morning that they had probably published yesterday on the BBC? The amount of money that Ange has spent. It's within a cigarette paper of what Poch had.
Is it like 440 million or something, or is it
No,
more?
it's less. It's like, I think it's like 387 or something, but it's a ton of cash. And like I've been saying to people, this is a guy who, when they said, "Do you want to say yes, I'm behind Dominic Solanke joining us?" You don't realize, or he didn't realize, this was his legacy that he was rubber stamping. And I hate the word legacy, but he was rubber stamping that. So when he looks back at this fiasco, at this car crash, when they're going through the remains, and they're going to hold up a picture of Solanke, sorry, and say, "Yeah, you said okay to that on your shift as coach." Absolute disaster. Absolute disaster. You're better being a Spurs coach if they don't spend any money.
I read the other day that we're looking for some sort of multi-purpose, multi-functioning, dynamic centre forward in the summer. So we obviously want
We're looking
a
for
Swiss Army knife. Yeah, we want a player who can cut down a tree, can open a beer can, and can
outswim a shark.
In the event,
but the trouble is, only in the world of in Levy world is the word versatile deemed as a massive positive.
Yeah,
because in most businesses, if you say, "Oh, quite versatile," that's great. He's a utility sort of character. We get what versatile means. But at Spurs, it means he's if we've got 6 tasks that need performing, he can't do all of them very well.
But this amplifies what we've spoken about earlier today, and what the BBC are reporting about a lack of a footballing people at the club. So and that justifies why we've signed such horse shit previously. When you think collectively, the money invested in Brennan Johnson, who's lightweight and crap, and Richarlison, who we all know is crap, and you're thinking collectively there, you got about 100 million. Add Solanke to that's 165 million. If I gave you that money, as I could every other person who contributes to these conversations, 9 out of the 10 of you would sign 3 better players than we've signed.
Yeah, I mean that idea of a versatile player, that is designed to appeal to people that don't understand football. Which isn't to say that you wouldn't get Sir Alex Ferguson saying, "Yeah, this guy can do everything for me in the midfield. He's defensively minded. He's good in attack."
But you want Dion Dublin then, don't you? You want a bloke who could play centre back and could play centre half, or Chris Sutton back in the day.
And also get your kitchen extension fixed on time and within budget.
We probably want a centre forward who's got the capability to play goalkeeper if the need arises, as we're only down to the last 4 of them.
But it is utterly surreal, and they put this guano out on the basis that some people will kind of warm to it. I mean, God help me, I looked on Spurs Community this morning, and that's
what were you doing that for?
Well, I don't know. It's like sometimes you just stand on a rake. Do you know what I mean? Just to see if it's still true. And there were people on there, and again, they need psychological help, saying they really believe in Ange, and he's such a decent guy. I mean, the body language alone would be a red flag that a matador would gladly use in an emergency. I mean, it's just absolutely terrifying. His business the other day was in keeping with the deterioration of the man.
It's the same people who'd have been happy for Ralph Harris and Jimmy Savile to babysit their kids.
Yeah, we're gonna play some mime games next, kids. So just don't worry about any sensations you feel, because it's all part of the theatre workshop.
Have you guessed what it is yet?
It's certainly pleased to see you. I know that much. Yeah, so this is where we are on the brink of oblivion. I don't think it's unfair comment. Will Ange could he be sacked if Spurs were routed tomorrow? Which I'm not sure is going to happen, because Manchester United are pretty bloody awful. But do you think if he was savaged by the Manx tomorrow, that they could get rid of him?
Every game that he's lost lately, I've thought that's it. That's the final innings. But then you think this bloke must be like a cat, as he's got 9 lives and he's using every single one of them. So I've heard whisperings, as you have, around this is it. If he loses tomorrow, he's dead man walking, won't be there on Monday. But I don't believe it one little bit. I think
I
if
don't.
you
I
were
don't.
if
I
you're
don't.
going to have acted, you'd have acted previously, and you've got these old excuses now. Oh, don't worry, we've got all the players coming back. We've got Udogie back tomorrow. We've got Vicario back tomorrow. We've got Maddison back tomorrow. I hate to break it to you, but we were shit when we had all three of those previously.
But as
So
I said to you recently, the problem we run into with Spurs at the moment is that they are selling hope. That's what we're a hope generation enterprise.
we're
And
just
there's all this business of, oh, so and so is going to be brilliant in 5 years' time, and so is coming back from the physio room, and he's bound to be brilliant. And the reality is, we need much better than we've seen thus far from those players, who I don't have a particular angst with, but I'm just appreciative of the fact that, you know, you need more sometimes. And the idea that you're going to get these guys return, I don't see any massive saving grace. I hope there is, but then a part of me hopes that it isn't, because we need to stop perpetuating this myth that mediocrity is all right and we're all involved in some big global struggle. And it's just nonsense. You know, I'm just absolutely a loss. I think we can get beat 5-0 tomorrow, which I don't think is going to happen, because I think Manchester United won twice in their last 5. They're not up for it. They got smashed 2-0 at home against Crystal Palace. So we're not playing Real Madrid tomorrow. And again, I think there's going to be some of them.
We will make them look like we're Real Madrid. I can assure you of that. We did exactly the same previous with Ipswich Town, and who else turned up at the Tottenham Stadium?
Ipswichio in the Classico.
Yeah.
But I can see some fans coming out tomorrow, should we beat them or should we not lose, and say, yeah, but you know, when you scalp Man United, this is a Manchester United that Sir Alex Ferguson and co wouldn't recognise.
Well, through his own admissions earlier this a few weeks ago, Amorim said this is the worst Man United side ever, and he is their coach, and he has had a Conte type moment where he's seen this ray of light coming from above, and he's put his hands up. He's put his hands up and said, "We're shit," but we've still got Happy Clapper FC supporting our fan base, and if somebody said that, it wouldn't be received lightly. It wouldn't be well received. And we're just a club of apologists, and we're a club of excuses. And there's not enough fans who are old enough, opinionated enough, or sensible enough to call it for what it is. And that's why it's refreshing reading the comments of the people who come into this channel. 9 out of 10 of them all get it, and they've all been here for long enough to see it for what it is. We used to be a football club. We haven't recruited good enough players for a long period of time. We do not know what success is, because we haven't won anything since 2007, and we just keep on rinse and repeating the same old cycle. But people have got comfortable with that. They've accepted it, but they aren't pushing the boundaries to say this isn't good enough. We pay all this money. We've got this £1 billion stadium. When are we going to see the outcomes of that investment? And when are we going to push on and actually do what we're supposed to and win titles? Probably not in our lifetimes.
No, absolutely not in our lifetime. Unless something seismic that nobody could predict happens. I just think my microphone went a bit wonky there. There we go. The problem I think that we've got is that the fan base, generally speaking, are either sat at home watching on TV, which is nothing wrong with, because that's how I consume my football, right?
Is that a legal fast trick?
Yeah. It's a steam powered one. They've brought out in order to get around some of the legal loopholes. But for God's sakes, don't open a window, because you might as well say you've got Red Indians staying in your front room. But yeah, see, I managed to offend so many people there without even thinking about it. But the deal is that I think everybody's so bloody comfortable. Oh, I'm in my padded seat. Oh, I'm having a nice glass of beer. Oh, whereas if you were stood up and you're on a wooden bench, you might be a little more grumpy that you haven't got a striker who can actually reliably score every week. I mean, I know Harry Kane, they talk about him being a generational talent, but there's lots of footballers that score virtually every week or every other week. It's not unheard of. But at Tottenham, it's the anomaly. It's, you know,
the globe is inhabited by billions of people, and lots of those people play football. So how difficult is it to actually identify your requirement?
And some of them throw sticks that come back to them because they're a superior race to the rest of us.
Unfortunately,
the amount of sticks I've lost, I tell you, unbelievable.
Our recruitment department is seemingly headed up by Stevie Wonder, and we struggle to see any Promising talent.
Stevie Wonder and Peter Sutcliffe, just for the added taste. Right, so I reckon the sensible money, and I'm not going to bet on them because I haven't bet on Spurs in a long time because I don't like giving my money away unless it's somebody I want to give the money to. I think the sensible bet tomorrow is a draw, and you got two sides that don't want to be there. It's like the Monty Python. Well, I think that's showing a tremendous amount of character. I'm not convinced he's there, but I think a 1-1 draw with Spurs scoring their equaliser in the 93rd minute or something is probably more plausible. I don't know, but it just feels like we're watching the same cartoon. It's like watching a Roadrunner cartoon, and it doesn't matter what Coyote does. You know that somebody's going to land on his head or blow him up.
I did find funny the other evening, flicking through the channels, coming across the Leeds game. Solomon, 7th goal of the season, assisted another. And you think,
so why don't we have a Solomon? Because and this is an allegation made by me that perhaps one of his employers doesn't like Jews. That could be a thing. I'm not saying it is. I'm saying it's a possibility. And the other is he's not injured. Why is that? Is it because the football manager he's with at the club he's run properly and knows what he's doing? I'm not saying that. I'm just suggesting it could be an option. There's all sorts of options why we don't have a Manor Solomon. And we appear to have a Dejan Kulusevski, and we've broken him because he isn't injured, but he is tired, and he's right to be tired because of the amount of football he's played. But we don't have. I mean, there's a good utility player. There we go. We've answered the same question that we posed.
Yeah,
if we're looking
forward, he could play in the middle.
If you're looking for versatility, which doesn't really come at a price, unless of course you're a massive terrorist supporter. I mean, if you're a massive supporter of terrorists, then he can't have him on the table. Not a chance. But he's a decent kid, scores goals, stays fit. And what's not to love? And ask Leeds fans if you think I'm making it all up, because I've seen the footage. They adore him, and they're right to do so. Right, I think we've just about chewed the bottom off of this wasp. Is there anything else you wanted to throw in or throw under the bus before we?
Plenty of people, but I don't think that's appropriate for this conversation.
Well, we've only named some of them. You
need to be a little bit clearer about the toilet cleaners. There'll be lots of people asking, "Who is that?"
Well, I think we all know. We all know who Stelios is, and if we don't, that's probably a very well kept secret. That's it for now, folks. And don't forget, keep it Tottenham. That's what he said. That's what he said at the end. Right, I'll get this uploaded. Let us know about your van.